Winning the MVP is arguably the most prestigious individual award in any sport. Throughout the years, the best players of their generations usually win a couple of them. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the most with 6 MVPs, while Bill Russell and Michael Jordan each have 5. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Before we start this video, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Hardwood, a mobile social app built for passionate basketball fans, where you can get involved by catching the latest feeds, keep up with current topics and live scores with a variety of fan-made NBA content, read through different blog posts on the feature section to get a better perspective whether the Milwaukee Bucks are legit title contenders or if Giannis will win his first MVP. One of my favorite features includes the wiki page, where you can educate yourself by looking through every player's profile in the league, read more about them, learn more about historic teams, coaches, and much more. If you want to test your knowledge of the game, go to the quizzes section to see how much you really know about different topics. To download the app, just go on your iOS or Android device to search the App Store for Hardwood Amino. I highly recommend you check it out. If you want to connect, talk some basketball with me, give me a follow at Wilson Sai. Back to the MVP discussion. There were many all-time greats who never won the Most Valuable Player award due to the successes of other great players of their generation who had better teams. Combined with their individual accomplishments and looking at team success are how most people will judge who deserves MVP. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the best player in the league, but if you're a top 5 player in the game and your team has the best regular season record, it's hard not to give it to you. Here are 5 NBA stars who should have won more than one MVP. Bob McAdoo, 1975-76. McAdoo won the MVP the season before, leading the league in scoring, averaged 34.5 points to go along with 14 rebounds for the Buffalo Braves at age 23. During the 70s decade, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was considered by far the best player, won 5 of his 6 MVP awards during that era. Jabbar is still the only player in NBA history who won the MVP award, with his team not making the playoffs in '76, something that will likely never happen again in the NBA. McAdoo, however, led his team to the postseason, finished 46-36 overall as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. Only 5 teams from each conference made the playoffs that season. Judging by the numbers, Jabbar's averages of 27.7 points, 16.9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4.1 blocks were far more eye-popping than McAdoo's averages of 31.1 points, 12.4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2.1 block averages, and was easily the best player at the time. But McAdoo, who also played some center at 6'9", was overshadowed by Kareem's name and stature. It was also one of the closest MVP races in NBA history, with Jabbar at 28 years old in the prime of his career, earning 409 total points. McAdoo finished with 393, 16 points short. Jabbar had 52 total first place votes compared to McAdoo's 47. Dave Cowens, who finished 3rd that season, averaged 19.16 rebounds for Boston, had one more first place vote than McAdoo, where the 54-28 Celtics ended up winning the championship that season. At the same time, Cowens also had JoJo White and John Havlicek on his team, which was stacked. Based on his numbers, both McAdoo and Jabbar were way better, but even Dave should have finished ahead of Kareem for the MVP race, since Jabbar's team didn't even qualify to make the playoffs and finished with a losing record. Even if Kareem led his Lakers to a postseason berth as the last place team, I wouldn't have a problem with the award going to him. I don't care how good a player is, even in their prime, they should never be considered a legitimate MVP candidate if they don't make the playoffs. The 1976 MVP discussion seems to be forgotten since a lot of young NBA fans weren't alive at the time, but Bob McAdoo should have won back-to-back MVPs. He was a guy who can score from everywhere on the floor, plays very similar to Kevin Durant, ended up being teammates with Kareem, won 2 titles with Showtime in '82 and '85 as a role player coming off the bench during the latter part of his career. Charles Barkley, 1990. The actual winner was Magic Johnson. In another very tight MVP race, Johnson edged out Barkley by 22 points, despite Sir Charles receiving more first place votes, 38-27 compared to Magic. Based on their numbers, Barkley put up 25.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and shot 60% from the field. Johnson put up 22.3 points, 6.6 rebounds, 11.5 assists on 48% shooting. The difference was the regular season record, where Johnson Magic's Lakers won 63 games, compared to Barkley's Sixers with 53 wins. But the argument against Magic, despite Kareem being retired, he had amazing teammates in James Worthy, Brian Scott, and AC Green, where Green and Worthy were all-star starters. LA would have still likely been a playoff team without Magic, with their loaded roster, but the Sixers needed Barkley to carry the load every game, being the lone all-star, with the second best player on his team being Hershey Hawkins. The Sixers finished first in the Atlantic Division. Take Barkley off the team, Philly would have easily not made the playoffs. They might not even have won more than 20 games with his lack of supporting cast. You can also make the case for Michael Jordan for MVP as well that season, who finished third as the best player in the world, averaged an incredible 33.6 points, 6.9 rebounds, 6.3 assists on a 55-win Bulls team, who also has Scottie Pippen, another all-star. Even though Barkley was not as good as Jordan, he led his team to only 2 fewer wins than Jordan with far less help. Magic's Lakers were supposed to be great. MJ's Bulls were supposed to be a 50-plus win team, while Charles's team was not supposed to be any good at all, which is why Charles Barkley should have won the 1990 NBA MVP. Shaquille O'Neal, 2005. During the 04-05 season, it was a two-man race all year. Shaquille O'Neal and Steve Nash led their teams to the best record in their conference, both joining new teams, turning their franchises around. Phoenix won a league best 62 games, while Miami won 59. Nash put up 15.5 points along with 11.5 assists, while Shaq posted almost 23 points, 10.5 rebounds. Nash played in an epic run-and-gun system under D'Antoni, but Nash wasn't that great on defense, while Shaq was still a top 5 player in the league. In another close MVP race, Nash finished with 65 first place votes, Shaq had 58, 1,066 points for Nash compared to Shaq's 1,032, a 34-point difference, where it still bothers Shaq to this very day, and respectfully so. His raw numbers alone were more impressive than Nash. Phoenix only won 29 games the season before, a 33-game increase after Nash signed as a free agent, but Miami was 17 wins better, with Shaq, who was traded for Lamar Odom, Caron Butler, Brian Grant, and a first-round pick, a bunch of solid role players. But Dallas actually had more wins without Nash, finished with 58 wins, with Dirk finishing third on the MVP list, 6 games better than having Nash the season before. But the Lakers only won 34 games without Shaq, compared to 56 wins with Shaq the season before, a 22-game drop-off. Shaquille O'Neal was definitely robbed for MVP in 04-05. Kobe Bryant, 2006. Another controversial MVP debate, Steve Nash won his second MVP that year, leading Phoenix to 54 wins, posting averages of 18.8 points, 10.5 assists, with Amari only playing 3 games due to injury, but had excellent teammates in Shawn Marion, who put up 22 and 12, was a top 5 power forward in the league, Raja Bell, an excellent two-way player, Boris Diaw, who won Most Improved Player, and Leandro Barbosa was excellent coming off the bench, while Kobe averaged an incredible 35.4 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, led the Lakers to 45 wins with a terrible supporting cast. Outside of Lamar Odom, Smush Parker and Kwame Brown were the third and fourth best players on the team. The fact that Kobe single-handedly led the team to the playoffs, winning 45 games in the tough Western Conference, is remarkable. They had no business being in the postseason, but Kobe absolutely balled out, outscored Dallas by himself 62-61 in 3 quarters, had that 81-point game where his team was actually down 18 in the first half, along with 27 40-plus point games that season. Despite what all the advanced metrics says, Kobe had to score to give his team a chance to win. Without Kobe, that team realistically would have won 10 games. That's how bad those Lakers were. Put in a good shooting guard like a Jamal Crawford caliber player instead of Kobe, that team wins 25 games, maybe. But at the time, Kobe was still hated by the media. There were questions whether he would ever be a good team player. That's another reason why he finished 4th place, an absolute disgrace by the media. Although LeBron James and Dirk Nowitzki had strong cases as well, Dirk had a strong supporting cast, and LeBron wasn't a complete two-way player yet. Looking back over 12 years later, when you hear of the NBA in 2006, the first thing that comes to mind is Kobe Bryant. There was nobody who was more valuable to their team in 06 than Kobe was, who was virtually unstoppable that season. James Harden, 2017. Russell Westbrook capped off a historic season, becoming the first player since Oscar Robertson in over 50 years to average a triple-double for an entire season. put up 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, 10.4 assists. People also forget Harden averaged 29.1 points, 8.1 rebounds, 11.2 assists, led his Rockets to 55 wins compared to Westbrook's 47 wins with OKC. Russ received 69 of 101 first place votes, winning by a landslide, but Harden led his team as the 3rd seed and OKC finished 6th. Houston wasn't even supposed to be this good, was even predicted to miss the playoffs by many experts before the season even started. Russ's individual accomplishments and his triple-double average was strong enough to overlook team success, while towards the last month and a half, he basically went all out, trying to grab every rebound, dish out every assist, knocked off a game winner in his last game of the regular season against the Nuggets to solidify his case. Russell Westbrook simply wanted it more at the end, but if you take 1 assist and add 1 rebound towards his stat line, he wouldn't have averaged a triple-double, and without a doubt, Harden would have gotten the MVP. The season before, Harden averaged 29 points, 7.5 assists, over 6 rebounds, but his team finished 500, where he wasn't even named on any All-NBA team. But instead of getting discouraged, he just played out of his mind as a redemption year, while Westbrook, despite the loss of Durant, wasn't even selected to start in the All-Star game. His chemistry didn't work out with Victor Oladipo, a good player who mostly stood in the corner waiting for Russ to pass him the ball, who later became an All-Star after he was traded to Indy. Because of Westbrook's extraordinary numbers, Harden's numbers were almost just as good, had more team success, while none of the two were that much better than the other. Fortunately for Harden, he won MVP the following season, winning 65 games, while Russ wasn't even in the MVP conversation. By then, it was clear there was no debate on who was the better player between Harden and Westbrook. Once again, Bob McAdoo 1976, Charles Barkley 1990, Shaquille O'Neal 2005, Kobe Bryant 2006, and James Harden 2017 all should have won MVP those years, where they all should have had 2 for their careers. It's still possible Harden can still win another MVP, not likely this season with his team's slow start, but he's still only 29 years old, should still have plenty of amazing years left. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that will interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe for more content, more great stuff coming soon. See you next time.